Share Shot Reality here on WrestleZone.com. We encourage you to make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. All kinds of good stuff up on the YouTube channel in addition to our segments each weekend. Hey, make sure you get on social media Monday night, 15 minutes before Raw. Doesn't matter where you are. If it's East Coast, we're talking 7:45. If it's Central, we're talking 6:45. If you're on the West, we're talking 4:45. Make sure you're logged in and watching at CS Reality on Twitter. It's going to ask a question, something about what happened here on Share Shot Reality. It could be something we said, and all you have to do is type the answer in, hashtag WZCSR with it, and we're going to give you a great prize package. We're going to pick one winner. We're going to give you a great prize package courtesy of Lucha Loot. And I'm talking Rey Mysterio DVD, Lucha mask, autographed picture, Psychosis t-shirt. Lucha Loot's a great place. It's also a English-speaking Lucha Libre magazine, first one ever. So I encourage you. It's great for the Christmas time for wrestling fans, especially if you have kids. So check that out. We are all about the giving here at CS Reality.
Ho, 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 baby.
Josh Eisenberg, Brian Gulish. Guys, League of Nations. We are taking Sheamus, Barrett, Rusev, and Del Rio, and we are embracing the fact they're from all around the globe, and we're going to call them the League of Nations. My new Survivor Series has just passed.
Yeah, that would have been a good time for that, no?
Survivor Series. How about the whole damn summer when like all the big stars were there and all these mid-carders were together? You know, they weren't a day late and a dollar short. They're a day late and a euro short.
I like what you did there. Yeah, I don't. The one thing I like about it, the one thing I'll say I like about it is I like the fact of the lead heel group on the show being of your better wrestlers, and rather than having Stephanie and Triple H, who can take all kinds of heat, but Triple H is only fighting a few times a year, and Stephanie rarely does. But otherwise, it just seems like in a time when we are missing so many stars, to put them all together, granted, again, much like we talked about Josh with the Wyatt family, you hope that they don't all have to have one target. You know, Sheamus can fight with Reigns, and Rusev can fight with Ryback.
And that's what they did with DX, and that's what they did with a lot of the great stables, is they'd spin off. One would go for the tag titles.
Is this helping them, though?
Triple H. It helps Barrett. Because I think Barrett, out of all four of these guys, are the ones that gets the least pub. He's not in a relationship with Lana. He's not facing John Cena. He's not coming back and paired with Zeb Coulter, which still doesn't really make sense to me.
He's not facing Jack Swagger.
Yeah,
he hasn't won a match since I was 20 pounds lighter.
Exactly, but Del Rio is a guy that, no matter how we feel about Del Rio or how the fans feel, he's always viewed a lot higher than guys like Bad News Wade Barrett, because it's just that's Del Rio's connection. I think it helps Barrett. I think it hurts Rusev, because I don't think Rusev's character needs to be put into a stable. He's a guy that has relied so heavily on not liking anybody for so long, but whenever he brought up this personal feelings, the personal connection with the crowd, it actually backfired when we all thought it'd be good for him.
Can we see at the end of the day with this stable, could we see someone face turn against the Hills? Could we see Del Rio try to face turn? Or Barrett. It doesn't matter who.
It should be Barrett. And the other thing to keep in mind is I don't see this thing lasting very long. I mean, again, we've kind of buried this whole weekend. We've buried.
Remember, Daniel Bryan was in the Wyatt family.
That's true. This time last year.
We've buried the month of December this weekend, and the quality of content we're going to get. But I can't see. I mean, by Rumble time, I think we could be leading into Rumble, and they're just going to start arguing about it being every man's for himself, especially if Sheamus is still champion, and the winner of the Rumble theoretically would face him.
So what's the point?
That's
maybe, but to your point,
there has to be a point.
Maybe
here.
Sheamus gets everyone together, so he thinks that they won't go after his title. Maybe he sees Del Rio and Swagger or Rusev.
Well, I'll tell you the one thing that I was really confused about is at the end of Raw, what did you see? The New Day and then the League of Nations. Like, you're putting all of these heels, 7 of them, together.
There's no damn reason.
Make sense
there's
to
no
me.
damn reason we need 11 people in a Raw main event, by the way.
It's awful, especially for 3 hours.
Exactly.
Especially for 3 hours.
And it was a 20-minute main event. It wasn't like it was 10:55 to 11:05. It went on at 1:45.
You know, before they deemed themselves as the League of Nations this past week, I thought a week before when we saw Barrett and when we started seeing the guys come together, I thought, okay, this is just a new authority.
Yeah.
So again, I'm liking the fact that they're kind of distancing themselves from being the authority and they're just being 4 wrestlers standing on their own. But I don't see how I don't see an elevation for any of these guys, especially again because by the time Rumble comes in 6 weeks.
But then so with Del Rio having Zeb Coulter, where does Zeb Coulter fit into this equation?
Well, that's the thing.
That's a great question.
Or Lana.
Where's Lana? Exactly.
She ride up, on the back of Zeb coming down. She took the bump. Her ankle hurts. Can't walk.
Which that's another thing. While we're spinning off a League of Nations talk and talking about each of the guys individually, the Rusev Lana thing. Again, I'm such a big fan of them and the package of them. Happy they're back together after we saw that the split didn't work. but they went directly back to doing what they did in March and April, which caused the split, which was Lana being a distraction to Rusev. And I hope that was only a 1 week thing. I hope that was just to get a count out to protect Rusev and Ryback, because if that's what they're going to continue doing again.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that Brian and I were talking about on Fired Up, more so me just talking about the mid-carders and how the mid-carders are just very complacent. They're very the same. When you see a guy like Rusev and Lana, look at the guys in the Attitude Era. And I hate bringing the Attitude Era up because there are so many bad things about it, but everybody remembers it by being the peak time in wrestling. You had all these mid-card guys after a year or two in the mid-card. Look at Triple H. He had a complete 180. He looked completely different. He had China still, but his whole character was different. His attitude was different. He adapted with the times. These guys don't adapt. These guys stay in the same situation. They stay in the same storylines. Point in case, Del Rio and Swagger, they main evented, well, not main evented, but they were in a title match of WrestleMania 29, and now they're all the way down to the United States Championship match 2.5 years later.
Well, and you look at that 11-man main event. Now, fast forward 4 months to now, and I don't know when Cena will be back, Brock will be back, Taker, Triple H. You throw back these guys, these superstars.
Cena should be back this
of
month.
the 11 guys, and Orton won't be back, and Rollins won't be back. Bryan might be back, but at the end of the day, how many of these 11 guys are going to be in the top 3 to 4 matches on the WrestleMania card, other than Reigns and Ambrose?
No, it's a fair point. Again,
maybe Sheamus.
It feels so odd that we're just past Survivor Series, and it literally feels like gang warfare is going on. I know you brought it up in Fire. You have all these. It feels like they're all just going to combine for one. It feels like it's going to be the family versus League of Nations.
Well,
at December at TLC, but that does nothing for Sheamus as a champion.
It doesn't. And let me ask you this quick question: what one guy needs to come back to make Raw that much more interesting?
It's going to be John Cena. I hate to say it, but it's John Cena.
Well, if you're asking what guy, I mean, obviously, yes, Cena will be the first one back. But if Josh is asking what guy would do the biggest boost, Brock Lesnar in my mind, because Brock Lesnar polishes everything. He polishes.
What's he do? Take out the entire League of Nations?
Well.
Yeah.
In a respectful fashion, a gauntlet fashion.
There's a desperate time for WWE where Brock Lesnar needs to come back. They need to give him more dates. They got to bring Daniel Bryan back soon. You got to find some heat with the crowd. You got to get the crowd interested. Monday Night Raw in Pittsburgh, we were all there. The crowd was It was okay. 30% of the top was tarped off, maybe even more. When Daniel Bryan comes back, whether you love him or hate him, it gets the crowd interested. It makes the television show interesting when you're sitting at home.
I'm not denying any of that. And again, I would love to see Bryan back. You guys know I'm a huge Bryan supporter, but I say this over and over. If the guy comes back, if his health really is at a risk and the guy comes back, what good is it if he comes back and he's injured within a month? Because then it flops whatever.
Well, what good is it if he never comes back? You got to take that chance. Your champions have been hurt already, so you can never change storylines based purely on speculation if he could get injured.
You're right because everybody has a risk of getting injured.
You never know.
You're right, but when a guy's already gotten injured as severely and frequently as he has in the last 2 years, I mean, you got to stop and think. Like, is it worth risk versus reward? I don't know, but you're right. This would be
the perfect
time where
you have a few months where you can save him a quick Royal Rumble introduction, have him kind of package in 6-man matches. You look at Raw's going to WrestleMania; they're not always the best matches. They're 2 main events pairing together and teaming up, so you can protect him enough that if you want to put him in a main storyline, he can.
How about the tease that was thrown out there that says The Rock, because of the family thing with Reigns and the Usos, does The Rock get involved in this in some capacity?
He could be in the corner.
If Triple H is pushing the League of Nations,
The Rock pushes the family.
But again, it comes into the schedule.
He's going to be at WrestleMania 32.
He'll be there.
He's going to be there. He flew in coast to coast from Saturday Night Live to WrestleMania 31. He will be in Dallas.
Yeah, well, the guy stole my private jet, so. Chair shot reality.
Never have a private jet.
I know, it's a dream. It's a pipe dream.
They always leave me.